Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are or when you're watching this presentation. Is always a great time to learn and discuss the messages that have been brought to us um, in the gospel and by the light being enlightened by the doctrine, the Spiritist doctrine. I would like to first of all thank Kardec Radio for providing an opportunity for all of us to enjoy conversations like this one. Kardec Radio is available 24/7, and there are some very awesome presentations for us to enjoy and learn. Also, feel free to send any questions to the Kardec Radio Twitter. Today's topic is from the book Our Daily Bread by Emmanuel. It's called Let's Get to Work. So before we get to work, let's say our initial prayer. Thank you, Lord, for the amazing opportunity that is given to us every day to wake up and to learn new things. May your peace be in our hearts. May we always be connected with you. May we have the strength to forgive and the compassion with those who hurt us. And especially, may we also have the strength to forgive ourselves because we hurt so many people as well, unfortunately, due to our imperfections. Bless us, guide us, inspire us always. So be it. So, the title of this message from the book, Our Daily Bread, is Let's Get to Work. And it goes like this. It is based on a passage from Paul, the first letter from the Corinthians. It goes like this. What then shall we do, brothers? When you come together, each one of you has a psalm, a teaching, a revelation, a tongue, or an interpretation. Everything is done for edification. And again, that's Paul, First Corinthians chapter 14, verse 26. So this particular passage here has lots of significance and does have some historical background, which Emmanuel explains in this particular chapter. And Emmanuel explains like this. The church at Corinth was struggling with a number of pressing concerns when Paul wrote the above remark. So, of course, Paul, you can tell by the way Paul wrote his remarks that he had, there were some issues. He starts the message by writing, what then shall we do, brothers? Right? So, what then shall we do? So, that's usually the way when you start a conversation, when pretty much, and now what? Right? So, yeah, there are some issues at the church at Corinth. The second paragraph here reads as follows. The contents of his letter dealt with several spiritual problems facing the Peloponnesian brethren. However, we can isolate this particular verse and apply it to certain situations experienced by new Christians grouped formed within the environs of Spiritism's revival of the gospel. So, yeah, there were some problems at the time with the church at Corinth. Corinth was a port city. It was an affluent city, as port cities at the time, with all the commerce. It had an upper class that was affluent, and of course, it had a working class that was not better off, which was actually well off as well. And there are several issues with the church at Corinth due to some misinterpretations of the teachings by Jesus. They had this idea that they were superior to other people. And not only that, some of the members of that particular young church believed themselves to be better than others. And that caused that, and also they, in general, the members of that particular organization, they believed to be saved already, so they didn't have to do anything else. to achieve perfection. And interestingly enough, due to that, again, there was a lot of contention amongst them. And not only that, there was also what one might classify as immoral behavior as well. And there were some tensions within the group between, again, the the rich and the working class within the group itself. There was some tension there. So it was a messy situation. And Paul writes this letter to them, trying to calm them down. And it's interesting here that Paul explains today that when you come together, so when you come together, when all of you come together, right? Each one of you has a psalm, a teaching, a revelation, a tongue, or an interpretation. So a psalm, again, meaning, a verse that enlightens. A teaching, everybody has something to teach. A revelation, something new, right? A tongue, meaning, in this case, mediumship, communication, and an interpretation. You have all these things: a psalm, a teaching, a revelation, a tongue, and also, but even if you don't bring anything, you have your own opinion, right? You think you can come up with opinion about everything, and everything is done for edification, meaning each one of us can create everything. Each one of us can build something by providing our different perspectives. And we see this situation here in different environments of spiritism, but not only our environments within spiritism, but outside of spiritism in different situations. When people get together, there's different personalities, and also there's different egos, and a lot of times there's a dispute between different members, and some members think they're better than others. Also, there are personality cults. There's a problem when people start to think that, hey, somebody else is so much better than me. I'm never gonna be like that particular brother or sister of mine. But in essence, what Paul is saying is that when we come together, we can all contribute. We can all be part of something and build together even within our differences. And we see here on the second and third and fourth paragraph, we see that Emmanuel continues explaining that we very often see intense concern on the part of spiritist workers for new examples of phenomenology and revelation. And some groups tend to stop their activities altogether when there are no experienced mediums available. So it's kind of interesting. Again, within Spiritism, we still see a lot of this focus on phenomenology, through mediumship, different kinds of mediumship. People still are, even amongst experienced Spiritists, it's possible for people to be looking into that wow factor. I want to see something new. I want to see something happen. And also some revelation, right? Something new. It's not only that it's going to be some mediumistic phenomenology, but also some revelation that could come. And again, like Emmanuel explains here, some groups, they tend to stop activities because there are no mediums, meaning there's no phenomenology. He proceeds here asking why. No, this is again Emmanuel saying, no medium can ultimately resolve the fundamental problem of his or her fellow spiritist's illumination. So it's kind of interesting the way Emmanuel puts it, because now he's explaining, okay, that it's okay for mediumship to be there, for the mediumship phenomena to be part of the spiritist, of an spiritist organization. However, it is not up to a medium to enlighten, to solve the fundamental problem of illumination, enlightenment of his fellow spiritists, because it's not up. Nobody's going to open your heart and bring in all these beautiful messages into your heart. Nobody can do that except yourself, and it's one's own responsibility. Now, We all the teachings that we receive, all the experiences, the great and beautiful experiences that we live through mediumship, those are great, but it is up to us to internalize those and put those into practice. And then Emmanuel continues, our spiritual task would be absurd if it were circumscribed to the mechanical attendance of a large number of people at any center, simply to emphasize the efforts of only a few. Again, so our spiritual task would be absurd if it were circumscribed to the mechanical attendance of a large number of people at any center, simply to emphasize the efforts of only a few. So basically, the spiritual task would be incomplete. Emmanuel calls it absurd, but it will be incomplete if it were just about people coming to a spiritual center and just just watching lectures, um, just receiving beautiful messages. And again, nothing against beautiful messages from mediumship. Mediumship is the most amazing, one of the most amazing things in the universe. However, what about me? I mean, if I'm just going there mechanically, just attending those meetings, what about me? What am I doing with all those riches? What am I doing with all those great things that I'm receiving? And again, we see a lot of that in spiritist centers, and not in spiritist centers, but in any kind of religious organization, and I go beyond that, any kind of effort to do good for mankind. We always see a few people working very hard, and there's a large group of admirers, a large group of people cheering for them, but the work is always being done by a few, which it's absurd. Why? Because you have all this energy, and even if all that multitude of people who are there, even if they cannot achieve the same level of phenomenology, still they have something to contribute, they have something good to offer. So why not make that available as well? Emmanuel continues here, disciples must understand that work and accomplishment belong to everyone, and that each person must be busy with his or her own spiritually constructive service. So it's kind of interesting again that work and accomplishment belongs to everyone. So we all can play a part, right? Sometimes we feel frustrated because we cannot have the mediumship of Chico Xavier. We cannot have the dedication of someone like Divaldo, or the knowledge, or some other spiritist, well-known workers. But again, it's the spiritist movement, or the betterment of humankind, does not just depend on a few selected and special people. It belongs to all of us. Like Gandhi used to say, be the change you want to see in the world, right? So if you want to see the world as a better place, play your part. Whatever it is that you can do um, in your own spiritually constructive service, do it, as long as it's constructive, as long as it's something that you can give. Emmanuel continues here explaining that no one should complain about the lack of new information when voluminous concessions from the higher realms are awaiting the firm commitment of the willing student who seeks to understand life and grow spiritually. So it's kind of like sometimes we're always waiting for this new information, for new revelation to come to us, but there's so much already, right? So just the gospel alone, just the spirit's book alone, they are great. Just works by Leon Denis and Gabriel Delan, I mean, and so many others. Of course, Chico Xavier and Devald, and some and some others. There's so much good information that it's all we need, like Emmanuel explains here, is the commitment to go there, go after that knowledge, to learn. And it says understanding, willing to, who seeks to understand life and grow spiritually. So is to have that understanding, have that knowledge that enlightens you, but not only that, also the growth now. right? So you're going to have that knowledge, and you're going to apply that knowledge for your spiritual growth. So you're going to put it in practice. So this message here, this particular chapter, is all about us putting what we can do into practice. Emmanuel finishes here this discussion by indicating that when you gather together, remember the doctrine and the revelation, the power to speak and to interpret that you already possess, and get to work for the good and the light in the indispensable pursuit of self-improvement. So when you gather together, so when as a group, right, and of course, being spiritists, we can refer to a spiritist group, but also any kind of group that works together for the good, for the betterment of the human being. So remember the doctrine and the revelation, right? Remember what you already know. Again, you may not be a subject matter expert in any particular aspect of spiritism, but you already know something, right? We're all together, and even the most knowledgeable spiritist in the world, he or she does not know everything. So we all know something, and it's more about putting that into action and interpreting that, and get to work for the good and the light in the indispensable pursuit of self-improvement. So get to work for the good, right? So get to work for the betterment of wherever you are, and for the light as well, for the enlightenment, or for your own enlightenment, and to help, who knows, even the enlightenment of others, and have this indispensable pursuit of self-improvement. Again, for two very interesting points here. Indispensable, right? So the pursuit of self-improvement. So it's a pursuit. It's something that you go after. Nobody's going to push you, right? When you're pursuing something, it requires action from you. You're doing something. You are acting. So this is indispensable, right? I mean, you're going after that, and that it's for self-improvements. Nobody is going to improve you. Nobody's going to is going to carry you in your development. You're going to carry yourself. So that's self-improvement. I'm going to make myself a better person. Very interesting chapter here. That was the last paragraph of the chapter. I'd like to draw a parallel here, and even though the chapter here refers to a spiritual, sometimes some type of religious, a spiritual gathering, but this message applies to any kind of group that we belong to. It applies to our families, applies to our work environment, applies to our neighborhood. So let's all keep in mind that based on what we know, right, even though we don't know everything, but that little that we know, we can always put it in practice for the betterment of whatever situation we are in, for whatever group, social group we're in. We can always, like, for instance, in our families, we all have something to give in our families. We always have something positive to contribute, according to the gospel, according to Spiritism. So it's not by chance that families are formed. There is a reason for that. There is a reason for growth, for a growth that happens in that small community, again, that is called a family. So that's why each one of us belongs to a family. So each one of us can contribute to that group of people. So again, let's all remember what we know already about Spiritism, or about the teachings of the gospel. And as we interact with our family members, let's make sure that's one of the places. A lot of times that's the place where we forget about our spiritist ideals. Sometimes that's a place where we're more relaxed, and a lot of times we lack some level of kindness with our loved ones, and some kind of forgiveness, some kind of patience. So, but on the contrary, that should be the place where you should be the most charitable, the most connected with everyone else. So, and again, also in our workplaces as well, as we're dealing with our coworkers, most of the times we are under stress in our different professional activities. We deal with people who are also under stress, and so and a lot of times there's a lot of negativity going around. So aggressiveness. So why join, right? Why join that kind of attitude? Why have that kind of attitude when we can have an attitude of harmony? Um, and of course, and that extends to anything, to our neighborhoods, to any kind of any kind of groups that we are part of. And again, just like Emmanuel indicated, we can always contribute to the edification, to the betterment of whatever group we are in. And even if, as again, if we have a psalm, an interpretation, anything good, sometimes, let's say again, talking about our workplaces, sometimes one of our coworkers is having a very bad day. Actually, every day one of our coworkers, or one or more of our coworkers are having a bad day. So take an opportunity to have a word of comfort, a little bit of extra courtesy with that team member. So that's a contribution for that person, right? So that person can have a less stressful day, or I wouldn't say a perfect day. It would not solve that your coworkers all of his or her problems, but at least it will help alleviate some of that tension. So that is the message. Again, our daily bread. Next week, I will cover the second chapter of the book by Emmanuel as well. So stay tuned. Um, again, I'd like to take this opportunity again to thank the Kardec Radio for allowing us to have this conversation. And again, make sure you watch some other great programs in Kardec Radio, and Kardec Radio in several platforms, and also if you have the opportunity, also contribute financially. Again, uh, Cardiac Radio is non-profit as well, but they keep expanding their programs. So again, be part of Cardiac Radio, and again, if you want to go into their Twitter account and ask questions as well, that's a way to participate as well. So at this moment, let's close our eyes. And let's relax for a little bit. Let's connect with our spiritual friends who have so patiently been with us, our spiritual mentors, our family members in the spiritual world, our friends from this life or previous lives who have been so patient with us. Let's let the goodness that surrounds us get inside of us. There's so much negativity in the world, and we have an opportunity to provide a little bit of good, a little bit of peace. So should we, in our moments, as we deal with our brothers and sisters, remember what we know about Spiritism, the good that Spiritism has brought to us in our lives. And may we share with them, share this goodness, share this positive energy. We cannot fix the world, but at least if we can make someone's lives better, we'll be contributing for the world to be a little bit of a better place. May God's peace be with us today and during our moments of pleasure, and especially in those moments of challenge, which are actually moments of opportunity for our betterment. So be it.